Good afternoon and welcome to the annual general meeting of Family Zone Cyber Safety Limited. I'm advised that there's a quorum of shareholders present in person and by proxy, and I therefore declare the meeting open. My name is Peter Pavlovich. I'm the non-executive chairman of Family Zone Cyber Safety Limited. With me are my fellow directors Tim Levy, Crispin Swan and Phil Warren, and our company secretary Dan Robinson. Online is our director Dr. Jane Watts, and Matthew Stephen Georg L are unable to attend due to time zones being based in America and the UK. Jared Prue, our auditor from BDO, is in attendance and available to answer any questions on the audited accounts when we get to that area. Before we commence the formal part of the meeting, Tim Levy, our Managing Director, will provide a presentation on the company's operation. Tim, over to you.
Thanks, Pete, and thanks for those attending online, and of course for those attending physically. What I'll do is I'll look at the physical audience so I can get a reaction on my best in a crowd. Those online hopefully can follow along. So what I thought I'd do at this session is kind of, and I think I've done it in the past, is to really position the company and our journey. We have, in particular, since Pete Pavlovich joined the company, we've developed a very specific commercialisation plan aimed at proving that we had a product that the market would enjoy, building scale, so that we can actually generate operating leverage to ultimately get through to cash flow break even and profitability. So we had a very clear plan to do so. We've had an amazing support from many investors and many broker groups, many of which I can see in this room today. So thanks everyone for your role, and it's been an important role in this journey so far. As you can see on this roadmap, we are close. We're not quite there yet, but we're pretty close to this inflection point in our business. It's been a big focus for us in the last 12 months. We've definitely heard the market talking about that, but we're on that path to that anyway. And I'll go through that shortly. So what I want to touch on in this session, though, is what we've built, not just me and Crispin and the operating team here, but also our investors. And I think everyone should have a bit of pride in what we've achieved in this business. We've without doubt built the leading portfolio of products that support digital wellbeing, student safety, without doubt. And what you see in front of you is a couple of the screenshots. These are real, not mock-ups. These are real examples of the products that we put in customers' hands today. School Manager and our portfolio filtering products are without doubt the leading filtering systems in K-12 education globally. And it's not just me saying that, you can see it in our results. We went from 0% of US school districts using that product in 2018 to nearly 18% of districts using that product today. It is an outstanding suite of services, offering all sorts of never before seen integrations and services for IT in schools. Going down to the left is ClassWise, is our preeminent. We've actually got two classroom tools. It's a preeminent tool that allows a teacher to manage the digitalisation of learning. Principally, it allows a teacher to ensure kids are focused, but also open up the internet and deal with the modern requirements of modern learning, which is all project-based. In fact, my kids never get, I still can't believe this, don't get textbooks anymore. I don't think many investors realise that in the modern classroom, kids aren't given textbooks that they regurgitate. They're given a device and a browser and told, look. And so our job is to make sure that in that exploration, kids are safe and teachers are empowered. In the middle top is something that I'm probably the most proud of in our portfolio of products, and it's how we embed education inside our offering. We have a content repository, we call it an Online Safety Hub. It's available to all of our school clients. I think we've now got, it's 15 or 13% of our schools globally are now using this product, and it becomes now the method in which the school talks about online safety and wellbeing to their community. And what's also important about this platform is that that content that's in that platform is now increasingly being made available through our end user applications. You can think about it in a way where, like a virus, infecting the community, but really what we're trying to do is embed expert advice with the functionality to actually support digital wellbeing inside these school communities. On the top right is a relatively new product in our portfolio. It's called Monitor. It came from the Smoothwall acquisition last year. We launched that in the US in November last year, I think that's right, and we've now got well over 1 million students, something like over 20% of our US customers are now using that product, and we are literally saving kids' lives every single day. that is remarkable. Ross Young, who was just in this room a moment ago, he's been instrumental in the success of that product into the US. And again, everyone can be incredibly proud that's been part of this journey, because you've literally saved kids' lives and made an impact in millions of students' homes. Middle bottom row is Custodio, the second most recent addition to our portfolio. It's the leading parental control product in the world, I believe. What's unique about that product is time management. You can see here that the application allows parents to control how much time your kids are spending online each day, each week, and on specific apps. It's very unusual. What's also important about that suite is it supports PCs and Macs and Android devices and iOS devices, all the devices that are used inside, particularly the Western world. It's an outstanding suite of products, and we've now launched that into our US and Australian schools and UK schools. And the early signs are really exciting. I won't give anyone specific numbers, but I'm very confident in the execution of that rollout. It's looking genuinely very exciting. And Pulse is the most recent addition to our product portfolio. And really the role of Pulse is to give children a voice in their online safety journey. It's, in simple terms, it's a tool that allows a school to understand what's going through the child's mind, checking in how you're feeling today. I'm feeling unsafe, I'm feeling well, I'm feeling happy, or I need some help. And so there's help-seeking opportunities in there. There's opportunities to congratulate, to say nice things about your peers. And there's also surveying tools in there that allow a school to develop a picture of the safety and wellbeing challenges in that cohort. And we're actually launching AI tools into that by the end of this year, which allows us to have a high confidence predicting issues before the child actually clicks that button of I need help. That portfolio of things means that we can keep a child, the way I think about it is our job is to kind of keep a child on this happy path of safety. Kids will fall off it from time to time. Our job is to identify it as soon as we can and nudge them back onto a happy path, hopefully before they become radicalized or bring a gun to school or God forbid, kill themselves, which is unfortunately something we see too often. Now, more financial metrics. Financial way of looking at business, we have done a remarkable job in the last 3 years, going from a recurring revenue of, I think, less than $8 million this time 2 years ago to now something like $84 million recurring revenue. Students served less than 1 million to 13 million. I think it's just under 13 million of students that are looked after by our products and services globally. Our net revenue retention, I've highlighted the US net revenue retention here because it's really important to understand, and I don't think investors truly get this. In the US, of renewal opportunities that we get when customers come out of contract, we're renewing 135% after losing a small amount of customers, which is natural in our business. We lose about 3 or 4%. So every time there's a renewal cycle, we're increasing prices and selling more products. So in our current ARR of $84 million, if we roll that out into next year, that $84 million becomes $100 million without adding a new customer. I don't think the market truly understands the power of residual income and net revenue retention. We've got an amazing growth engine in this business beyond just new business. Probably the most important thing that Pete Pavlovich has been banging me over the head about for the last 3 years is operating leverage. And you can see that in the chart on the bottom left. We had no margin in our business 3 years ago. We've now got service margins of over 80%, gross margins of 80%. And our vision, financial vision for this company is to maintain gross margins about 80%, climb service margins north of 90%, and use that delta to generate marketing, to grow our business. And we'll be able to do that within our cash flow means, which I'll touch on in a moment. As I said, churn is unbelievable for a business like ours, given the complexity of what we offer, and that we're going from, 3 years ago, we're selling to 4,000 student school districts. We're now selling into 100,000 student school districts. We're selling into states and countries. And our churn on an ARR basis is less than 3%. That's just amazing statistics. And then on the right-hand side is something that I'm increasingly excited about. I'm really excited that we've got Custodio as part of our platform. We now look after more than 300 families each day, premium paid for families, not free accounts. Our free accounts, I think, are north of 2 million. So the amount of parents and students we touch every day is something like 14 or 15 million. It's quite an amazing story. Quite an amazing story. I'm still going to believe it. The other thing I'm really proud of is the team that we've gathered together, both at the board level and some absolute superstars. Matthew Stepka, Georg L, who unfortunately aren't here today Jane, who's joined our team, who's on the call today, who's a star. All of them are making an amazing contribution to our business. And then our operators, Eduardo Cruz, the leading provider of parental controls in the world, Gav and Ross Young, outstanding enterprise sales guys with easily the best in the K-12 space globally, and Jordan Foster, who runs our education and wellbeing. If you think about her role, it's really about making sure that we delivers an impact to the students and the parents and the teachers. That is the envy of our industry, and I'm not just saying that. That is a remarkable group of people that we've accumulated. Operating leverage, I touched on it just previously. You know, you don't have a business, particularly in tough capital times like today, unless you're generating operating leverage, and we're now consistently improving the leverage in our business. Average revenue per student, which is the key thing that we sell, student licenses, is only going up, and the cost of delivering that service is only coming down. And that's why, you know, we've got this high confidence of the inflection point in our business coming soon. And let's touch on that. So September quarter, first inaugural cash generating period, we generated over $1 million of free cash flow. As you can see, that's a pretty stark increase, and that reflects growth in our existing business and the acquisition of some new businesses in the last 18 months. But on the right-hand side, what you see there is a really important chart. The grey is the contribution margin from our recurring revenue, which is simply $84 million of recurring revenue today multiplied by 80% margin. That's how much our cash contribution that we get from our customers, in order of mid-60s, let's call it $65 million a year. And the blue and green is our staff and other cash costs, respectively. And as you can see, our revenue, or the contribution from our revenue, is growing much faster than our fixed costs. And that's why we're confident in this inflection point coming soon. If you do the maths, or if you can judge this with a ruler on this chart, there's something like $10 million of gap between what we reported as our contribution margin at the end of September and our fixed costs. So if, and I'm very confident we will, keep our fixed costs to where they are, early 70s, we'll be at break even on a run rate basis, on a cash flow run rate basis before 30 June next year. It's a really exciting time. And just on the fixed cost base, I should touch on it. We've consolidated a number of businesses in the last 18 months, and we identify something like $6 to $8 million of synergies still available in the bringing together, particularly of the technology in this business. And so that's why I'm incredibly confident that our fixed cost structure is at its high water mark. It'll only come down over time, certainly in the midterm, next 2 to 3 years, in my view. So what next? Okay, so some things I think that the market needs to understand about our industry. Mental health issues around radicalisation, kids bringing guns to school, they're really hot topics. They hit the media, they hit the governance of institutions, they hit the political bodies inside schools in all markets. And who could not provide funding where kids, mental health issues and rates of suicide are doubling in 10 years? How can you not fund products, technologies, intervention programs that deal with those challenges? And that's what we're seeing in education. The funding in wellbeing, social emotional learning, mental health support is absolutely unbelievable, unparalleled actually. And you add to that the fact that in tough economic times, in recessionary times, more money is spent in public sector than not. And our industry is essentially recession-proof with CPI-based indexed increases for school student funding. And remember that our cost to a school is in the order of $6 to $10 per year, and schools get funded between $6,000 and $12,000 a year. So we are minuscule, right? The inflationary risks, the recessionary risks to our business are non-existent. In fact, it's the complete opposite. So that's one thing I think the market really needs to understand. We are on a wave that is, unfortunately, for this generation, just not stopping. And then the final piece, and maybe it's somewhat of a reflection of that challenge, is regulation is only having more of an impact on what we do. From established legislation like SIPA and KICSI in the UK, which are being reinvented, to NAGs in New Zealand, to even competition regulations and data protection regulation, are doing what's common sense, which is expecting parents and students and schools to collaborate in online safety, and surprise, that's our exact business model. So everything that we're seeing in regulation mirrors exactly what we've been saying about the market in the last year. So I feel like, again, on both of those factors, we're on the wave and we're perfectly positioned. So, but more close to home, what's kind of in the immediate 6 to 12 months? Custodio, our B2B2C launch, is happening right now. Early signs are very encouraging. I'm not expecting meaningful revenue in that this quarter, but I'm expecting a meaningful impact in our business, certainly this financial year. Custodio is launching. We said here it's going to be launching in January. We actually beat that. We launched that last week. So that's launched into a pool of 30,000 parents in the UK. The Educator Impact product Pulse, we won a contract today in Australia, which is amazing. We've got a major launch happening in the US imminently, and our UK team are super excited about that. I think that's going to be a rocket ship in our business. Digital Leaders, which is embedding online safety education in our platform, in our schools platform, making available for teachers to deliver digital citizenship in the classroom. That launches in January. Again, I don't think the market realises that in places like Texas and California, schools now have an obligation to deliver those programs. We now as of January, we'll allow a school to click a button and enable that program and make it accountable for the funding that they get. And then finally, and it's pretty exciting, we'll be talking to the market about a rebrand. Subject to trademark checking, we'll be talking to the market about rebrand in the coming weeks. That'll be a corporate rebrand with a kind of endorsed by stage rollout across our operating businesses over the next 12 to 18 months. That's it for my presentation.
I will just pause for any questions on the business before we go into the formal business.
Just with the rebranding, that's everything. So you just, it won't be family zone, it'll be...
Yeah, across the board. So that little humble family zone logo I built in PowerPoint 7 years ago, it's going to disappear. And yeah, the idea is, in fact, the reason why Eduardo from Custodio came to us is because he believed, one, we had the footprint globally to win, right, to be the category leader. And then he kind of insisted that, well, we need to bring it together so that the investment that you're making in brand isn't diffused, right? If you think about search engine optimization, right, we're having to compete with all these different advertisers, with all these different brand names globally. So consolidating that is really important for efficiency. The challenge for a business like ours is we unusually support enterprise markets and parents. To find a brand that kind of hangs between the two of those, that doesn't offend either audience. Like Family Zone, ultimately couldn't be sold in the US schools because they want to buy from Microsoft and IBM, not Family Zone. So yeah, so that's the thing that we've been playing with over the last few months.
Are there any questions online, Tim?
We've got one question so far from Mark Bellini. Mark asks, I think this is referencing slide 10 of the deck, Tim, where you referenced Custodio, Pulse and Student Digital Leaders to be generally available at different timeframes. Mark's question is generally available, does that mean all the schools and parents can access it?
Yeah, that's what it means. It means that it'll be available to all of our school customers, that's right. That doesn't mean that they go into a website and sign on, right? Then we have a success process or a sales process to get them interested in the product and then turn it on. But yeah, those products will absolutely be GA in January.
Very good. No further questions for the time being on the online.
Great. Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks, Tim. Now move to the formal part of the meeting. There are 10 items on the agenda as stated in the notice of meeting. Prior to voting on the resolutions today, I'll direct your attention to the PowerPoint presentation. Displaying the result of the proxies before voting. A poll will be taken for each resolution at the end of the meeting. The results of the poll will be released on the ASX market announcements platform following the close of the meeting. Are there any questions regarding the process? If you've not yet voted and have not been given your proxy to someone else, you're entitled to vote at this meeting. The poll is now open and I will close it at the end of the meeting. Notice of meeting. I take it that you received the notice of meeting that was made available to shareholders within the time provided for in the Corporations Act and has been released to the Australian Securities Exchange. Consequently, I propose that the notice be taken as read. A summary of the proxies received are displayed on the screen for each resolution as I read them out. The proxies are available for inspection if required. On all items of business where there's undirected proxies have been given in favour of the chairman, I'll be voting these proxies in favour of all items. Annual report. The annual report for the year ended 30 June has been lodged at the ASX, posted to the company's website and mailed to shareholders who requested a copy. Are there any questions on the annual report for the company or the auditor? No. I'll now move on to the resolutions from the notice of meeting. Resolution 1 relates to the adoption of the remuneration report. Resolution 1 states that for the purpose of section 250R of the Corporations Act and for all other purposes, that the remuneration report be adopted by shareholders on the terms and conditions in the explanatory memorandum. Are there any questions on the motion? The results of this resolution will be posted on the ASX announcement platform after the poll closes at the end of this meeting. Resolution 2 relates to the re-election of Mr. Phil Warren as a director. Resolution 2 states that Mr. Phil Warren, who retires by rotation in accordance with Article 6.3C of the Constitution and being eligible and offering himself for re-election, is re-elected as a director. Are there any questions on the motion? The results of this resolution will be posted on the ASX announcements platform after the poll closes at the end of this meeting. Resolution 3 relates to the re-election of Mr. Matthew Stepka as a director. Resolution 3 states that Mr. Matthew Stepka, who retires by rotation in accordance with Article 6.3C of the Constitution and being eligible and offering himself for re-election, is re-elected as a director. Are there any questions on the motion? Results of this resolution will be posted on the ASX announcement platform after the poll closes at the end of this meeting. Resolution 4 relates to the election of Mr. Georg L as a director. Resolution 4 states that Mr. Georg L, who was nominated by the directors in accordance with Rule 6.3J of the Constitution and agrees to his election as a director of the company, be elected as a director of the company. Are there any questions on the motion? The results of the resolution will be posted on the ASX announcements platform after the poll closes at the end of this meeting. Resolution 5 relates to the election of Dr. Jane Watts as a director. Resolution 5 states that Dr. Jane Watts, who was nominated by the directors in accordance with Rule 6.3J of the Constitution and agrees to her election as a director of the company, be elected as a director of the company. Are there any questions on the motion? Results of this resolution will be posted on the ASX announcement platform after the poll closes. Resolution 6 relates to the ratification of consideration shares. Resolution 6 states that for the purpose of Listing Rule 7.4 and for all other purposes, shareholders approve and ratify the prior issue of 9,744,567 shares pursuant to the share sale agreement related to the Educator Impact acquisition on the terms and conditions set out in the explanatory memorandum. Are there any questions on the motion? Results of the resolution will be posted on the ASX platform after the poll closes. Resolution 7 relates to the approval of 10% placement capacity. Resolution 7 states that the company have the additional capacity to issue equity securities provided for in Listing Rule 7.1A. Are there any questions on the motion? The results of this resolution will be posted on the ASX announcements platform after the poll closes. Resolution 8 relates to the approval to grant director options to Mr. Phil Warren. Resolution 8 states that for the purpose of Listing Rule 10.14 and for all other purposes, shareholders approve the grant of 1.4 million director options to Mr. Phil Warren or his nominee under the 2020 Family Zone Securities Incentive Plan on the terms and conditions in the explanatory memorandum. Are there any questions on the motion? The results of this resolution posted on the ASX announcement platform after the poll closes. And Resolution 9 relates to the approval grant of director options to Mr. Matthew Stepka. Resolution 9 states that for the purpose of Listing Rule 10.14 and for all other purposes, shareholders approve the grant of 1.4 million director options to Mr. Matthew Stepka or his nominee under the 2020 Family Zone Securities Incentive Plan on the terms and conditions in the explanatory memorandum. Are there any questions on the motion? The results of the resolution posted on the ASX announcement poll closes. Resolution 10 relates to the approval of the 2020 Family Zone Employee Security Incentive Plan. Resolution 10 states that for the purpose of Listing Rule 7.2, exception 13B, and for all other purposes, approval is given to increase the maximum number of securities that can be issued under the 2020 Family Zone Securities Incentive Plan to 165 million, an increase of 105,737,008 securities on the terms and conditions set out in the explanatory memorandum. Are there any questions on the motion? The results of this resolution will be posted on the ASX announcement platform after the poll closes. Okay, so completing the poll. So those who need a vote, there's a green form for you to fill in. And once filled in, please hand to the Computershare staff. And any questions, just raise your hand. All done. So it's a straggler. All done. All right, I now declare the poll closed and confirm the company will release the results via the ASX market release later today. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the business of the meeting. Thank you for attendance and support over the last few years. We appreciate our shareholders greatly. It's great to be back in person. Actually, we did in person last year. East Coast, first time in person for a while. And formally declare the meeting closed. Thank you. Can you shut it down? Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Pete.